When the chaos of popular culture makes your brain hurt, you really need belief in the form of a transfusion of analysis and humor. It's time for a POPeration. Join hosts Eric and Stacey as they dissect popular culture one bloody organ at a time. It's just what the doctor ordered.
Hello, you are listening to POPeration. I'm Stacey.
I'm Eric. And we're old.
Okay, yeah, that should probably be put out there that we are not teenagers. I'm not sure if you picked up on that quite yet.
And that's important to state right up front
really
because today we're going to be talking about what the kids are listening
Shit
to.
we don't know anything about. But
well, we know what we know.
We know.
Which is probably a slightly older take on some of this.
But the deal is,
stuff. So what are we talking about today?
Well, we talk pop culture is all sorts of things. It's not just movies and television and shows, which you and I know a crap ton about,
yes.
or at least have really strong opinions about. And a lot of our episodes are about that sort of thing. But
we typically go through, here's something, movies, music, television. And we just kind of do movies, music, television.
But that's not all of pop culture. There's a lot of other stuff, which is why we don't limit this show to just movies, music, television kind of thing. And so I come in the door to my house, and I have 2 teenage daughters.
Okay.
And more likely than not, I'm going to find them sitting on the couch, hanging together, but they're both on their phones. And if you go to any place where teenagers, or kids even, congregate, you're going to see them all on their phones.
Little tiny screens.
Little tiny screen computers that they take everywhere that are connected to the intraweb. And so what are they doing? Well, they're not looking at the same thing. You know, I do look at...
Sometimes they're just
the
texting.
internet on my phone. Correct. Sometimes they're texting other friends. They're in Snapchat using one of those apps and just yip-yapping, kind of like what my generation did on the phone.
Yeah.
But they also are watching, not TV.
No.
That they're watching YouTube.
Or...
Well, and it is mostly YouTube. It used to be Vine as well, but Vine went out of business. So now YouTube pretty much has what's going on. But what is interesting to me is the phenomena of people, celebrities, who have never been on television or on stage or in the movies. Yeah. They are YouTube. They are internet celebrities. And how did they get that way? So YouTube is the big... That's the big kahuna as far as...
So I went to a party recently that was hosted by a friend of mine, and he has, I believe it's called Chromecast, which is a Google extension.
I have that too.
And
it's like Amazon Fire is also something. Roku, it hooks your television up to the internet.
Yeah. So he had this Chromecast thing, and the whole thing about the party, he called it a stupid internet video party. And all you did was queue up the YouTube videos that you thought were hilarious that you had seen, and everyone would just queue up the next one, and so yours would show up 5 from now, and we all sit around and we had beverages and
how long
snacks
did this party
and
last?
watched hours.
So hours of just watching YouTube video after YouTube video
that we thought were funny. And of course, you know, me being who I am, of course, one of the videos that I put up there was best of Paul Lynde from Hollywood Squares.
Oh my gosh.
Hilarious. I mean, somebody has taken all of his best moments and kind of put them into an 11-minute YouTube video that I howled watching the entire thing. So again, skewing a little older, I'm sure that if your teenage daughters had been at this party, there would have been other choices.
Right.
You know.
Well, what I find interesting, so you do have those compilations, or you have people singing, and you have your vloggers, if you will, which we'll talk about. Some of the celebrity vloggers out, and some of them I do really much enjoy. This phenomenon that I'm getting ready to describe is so weird to me.
Okay.
My youngest daughter enjoys watching, she's watching, and it's a live video. It's not recorded. She's watching it live. It's a stream of this guy and his friends playing a video game.
Okay.
Now, she can, on her screen, she sees them playing. So they're sitting in chairs, looking at a screen, playing a video game. But then also in the corner, she can see what they're looking at. The game they're actually playing. She can watch that for hours.
Really?
And I'm like, you're watching someone else playing a game. Why aren't you watching? Why aren't you
Yourself
playing a game?
playing,
Why
yeah.
aren't you playing a game? And she says, but they're hysterical because they're sitting there talking about it, saying stupid stuff, and every once in a while they'll put down the game and they'll do something maybe.
So it's kind of like the
It's
Mystery
like a little
Science
show.
Theater
It is kind
of video games.
Correct, but it's also like a little variety show.
Okay.
Because sometimes they'll get up, and do something, play a little physical game, and then they'll get back and they'll sit back down and finish whatever game it is. It is bizarre. And yet she'll sit there and laugh her ass off. But that's 2017.
Sure.
I mean, that is our 21st century, and that's what's going on. But that's those guys.
Well, and
she
funny
loves them.
commentary is funny no matter what. I mean,
That's
so
true.
yes, that's 2017, but it's also we watched Mystery Science Theater 3000.
True.
So we could watch,
Which has come back. by the way.
Yes. So we could watch people make fun of
An old movie.
an old movie. I was once at another gathering at a friend's house. Our mutual friend, Rebecca, had a little soiree where we decided that we were going to watch Kenneth Branagh's take on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And I did say about 20 minutes into the movie, I said, okay, new rule, we have to start being able to make fun of this out loud or I can't continue to watch it anymore. I mean,
you couldn't take it seriously
it couldn't be a viewing. It had to be a roast, or else I couldn't handle it.
Right.
So, all that is to say is that funny commentary can get you through a lot of stuff. And maybe the game itself is kind of boring, but these two boys who are playing, who are making commentary, are actually what's funny.
And well, that's what she says.
I can respect that.
And I do get that. Once she told me that she wasn't just watching them play a game, which I thought that was bizarre. But when she said, but it's very funny, they're saying things and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I realized, okay, that makes more sense.
But it's
to
kind
me.
of meta because not only are they making commentary, they are actually also playing this game, and one is winning and one is losing. I'm sure. Yeah.
And so it's just but that exists, and they aren't the only ones doing it. The ones she's watching happen to be pretty popular, but there's people doing that all the time, all over the place. But that's the thing, is that you can create your own brand of you doing something, film it, tape it, or even live stream it, and have people watch you do that. I mean, it's basically anybody can be their own celebrity, as what this technology has done.
Yeah, and you can make these videos on a phone.
Correct.
I mean, you don't
the quality of this stuff isn't
yeah.
always great. Granted, if they do get sponsorship and that sort of thing, they get more money and they're able to invest in better equipment, and so, there goes that. But, no, you start out with your phone.
Sure.
That's what Justin Bieber did.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he's a star, believe it or not. YouTube, sang a song, got a lot of hits. So, but again, and you say, so how did this whole thing come about? How are we there that my daughter is watching someone else play a game? I think that it's technology.
Yeah.
Okay, we have the technology to do it, and people are younger when they're getting their hands on technology.
Yeah.
They have Kindle. Amazon has Kindles that have these special cases so that you can give them to your 2- and 3-year-old. I don't know whether that's wise or not, but the whole idea is that they, you take them and
well, I tell you what, I was
themselves.
on an airplane the other day, sitting right next to a 2-year-old who had his own iPad that had a big, puffy case, so in case he dropped it, which he did often, that it wouldn't break. But he was a perfect little angel on the plane. So I was a little nervous about sitting next to a 2-year-old, and as long as he had his blocks that he could play with, he had a colored blocks game, and it's fine. Yeah, I did kind of think, kid, your eyes are going to fall out of your skull by the time you're 5 because you're already addicted to these screens that dry out my eyeballs when I'm looking at my computer.
And that's the thing, is I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad.
Yeah, but it's there.
But it's
part of the culture.
And also, I think part of why it is that we have a shorter attention span, and everything needs a quicker response. I was laughing the other day about, remember when AOL started back in the 90s? And you would turn it on, and there'd be that ding, 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 and then that sound. But it took forever. Yeah. I mean, it took like a good 2 minutes, maybe. Now, I'm not waiting 2 minutes for anything.
The Wi-Fi is there.
It better be there now, or an IT guy is getting a call from me, and I'm going to say, what the hell? And I'm going to be really, really irate because it took more than 3 seconds for me to log in. So that's where we are, though, in this world. And so we need this fast thing. We need something, to entertain us quickly. And again, there's so many of them out there, so you have a vast number of choices.
Slightly off topic, but also very much on topic. One of my very favorite internet videos that I saw a number of times, Louis C.K. did a guest spot on Conan. Mm-hmm. You could tell that he had kind of rehearsed this little bit, and Conan was just there to react to him as he basically did stand up from the chair. But it's this really great sketch called Everything is Amazing and Nobody is Happy. And he tells the story of when airline Wi-Fi became a thing. And the very first flight he was ever on, they're like, we have Wi-Fi in the plane, and everyone got so excited. And then it didn't work, and halfway through the flight attendant was like, well, I'm sorry, we must have some kind of glitch because there's no Wi-Fi, and everyone just lost their minds. And Louis C.K. was like, you didn't know this existed 2 minutes ago. And how entitled you are, to have everything you want. And so his whole thing was, it sounded a little bit, a little get off my lawn, the way that Louis C.K. can sometimes be. But yes, just basically said, this is the world we live in now. We expect and we expect. But that also kind of, brings me to my next point about this, is that I don't have, favorite video YouTube celebrities necessarily. I have a couple of folks that I do know and I will follow, for lack of a better word, on YouTube. But more for me, I just go on, I'm old, Facebook. Mm-hmm. I go on my Facebook, and videos will just pop up in my feed, and things will just be, so-and-so has shared this, and if I like it, I might share it and put it on my own wall. There was something recently where these 2 Irish guys were watching that awful Pepsi advertisement starring Kendall Jenner and making commentary about it, and it made it watchable. But kind of like your daughter with the video game, I was not enjoying the Pepsi ad in the slightest, but their commentary, of course, in their brusque Irish accents, which are just also
extremely charming,
which also tickles me.
No, they were clever though; they were funny.
Yeah, they were
and
very
they were
funny.
real. They were saying what everybody was thinking.
Exactly, but funnier than I could form it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it is. I just said correct. I agreed that they were funnier than you could be. How funny was that?
Oh, you've thought that for a while.
I actually have. I just didn't want to say it right to your face.
On the show.
Yeah, let's do that. So anyway, so we're going to take a break, but I do want to talk about the pros and the cons of this technology that we're talking about, and when you want to be a star, and how hard is it, and all of that stuff. So,
we'll take a break.
Yep.
And when we come back, that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
Wondering what room you've stumbled into? Don't mind the scalpels. You're in the POPeration room with Eric and Stacey.
And we're back.
We're talking about viralness, I suppose.
Virality?
Virality. I like it. Virality. So we're talking about virality and 2017, or the 21st century.
Yeah.
And the technology that is there available. So people are becoming they're becoming celebrities, but they're not necessarily doing anything on television, movies, or the stage, which is the normal place.
But millions of people are seeing their face and are
around
becoming fans.
The world. They're international.
Yes,
they're international, and I think that this internet, it's the internet. It is the fact that it can happen from just your phone. You just have to have a phone. That's all you need is a phone and then you connect to the internet, and you can be a star.
Yeah.
But what's the good? I mean, there's the good things about it.
Yes.
There's more information about all this.
Yeah.
I watch a video of somebody who knows something that I don't know, or has a talent that I don't have, or that's amusing in some way. I have seen something of somebody who's maybe in Bangladesh. I would never have seen that unless they came touring near my house. That's kind of cool. I'm learning things that way. I'm certainly seeing other cultures, possibly. There's that part of it. And there's so many, literally thousands upon millions upon jillions of YouTube videos out there.
Yeah.
And so you can literally find anything you want to see. Sadly, you can find anything you want to see.
That is true. Yeah, there's some obviously there's some disturbing things.
And it's cheap.
That can come out of this as well. It's cheap to do. It's cheap to watch.
It's cheap to watch.
All you got to have is Wi-Fi, and there's a whole lot of things you can see.
But you were talking about
that
party, your YouTube party that you went to. And 10 years ago, that would not have been a thing.
Couldn't have been possible.
It was not a thing.
Yeah.
And yet, here I'm sitting here going, oh, that's a great idea. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I should have a party like that too. Sounds hysterical.
It's very fun. You have to bring together funny people who have good taste.
Well, I'd like to think that my friends are that.
Of course, all of them. To the very last one.
That's why I don't have that many friends.
But the other thing that I think is good about this, maybe we'll see. It's probably too early to tell. Is that it allows talent to be discovered in a way
Correct.
that probably doesn't.
I mentioned Justin Bieber earlier.
You're funny. But I'm thinking about some people. We're going to talk about in our third segment kind of who some of our favorites are. But I can think of some people right now who probably didn't have an agent. They certainly don't have a name.
And that is huge, honestly.
They're not anybody's. So like some of my favorite entertainers are part of entertainment dynasty families, right? So I think about, we discussed in a previous show, Emma Roberts, who is Julia Roberts' niece. We talked about, Drew Barrymore, who is from a long line of, Liza Minnelli, who is Judy Garland's daughter, and her performance in Cabaret, I think, was one of the best performances I think ever captured on film ever. And I saw her live 5 times in the 90s when she was in her prime and just knocking it out of the park. So, not to say that sometimes talent doesn't, it's not genetic in some form or fashion, and maybe growing up in the entertainment industry does that. But it's great that somebody who just has something funny to say and a funny way to say it can set up a phone in their bedroom or their living room, put a drape behind them, and beam out to, maybe 15 or so people. But if those 15 or so people decide it's funny enough to share on their Facebook wall, it goes on and on and on and on, and suddenly just talent is being seen.
So you have opportunities that you would never ever have gotten before.
Absolutely, and you might not be getting paid initially for your 15 minutes of whatever, but it could certainly lead to that.
It could lead to that, and I think that it's the opportunity for potential is what is out there, and that is a good thing. That it is cheap, and that if you're in Podunk, USA, or Podunk, Canada, or Podunk, Russia, wherever you are, and there's no agent around you, there are no auditions,
or in
whatever.
the middle of Manhattan and no one's calling you.
Correct. Here's a way to get seen and heard, and if you're good or someone likes you, they'll share it, and it can grow and grow and grow. So I think that is you're right. That is a plus. Now, the bad is, as I said, there are jillions and jillions out there, as everyone knows. The bad is that there are also jillions and jillions out there. Because of all of the reasons that it's easy to do, everybody and their dog thinks that they can do it. So they film themselves on a bicycle rolling off of a cliff into a trampoline. Brilliant. You idiot. And so, there's stuff like that. Again, you can find anything you want.
Yeah, I think that in that sense, okay, so there are gajillions of things out there as both a good and a bad. I think it's more of a good than a bad. For me, because, again, I'm probably not going to see the guy falling off a cliff unless thousands of people have already decided to share that. Because I'm not going on YouTube to search for
because that's not what you're doing. But that's not necessarily...
The cream might rise to the top a little bit.
Right. And I get that. But also, going with that is the quality control. There is no quality control because literally anybody can do what it is that they want to do.
Yeah.
And so you might find yourself looking at something that you really don't want to be looking at.
Sure, and not to be, that can get really disturbing. But even so much as sometimes I'll want to hear a song, and so I'll search for a song on YouTube, and maybe it was a song that doesn't have a video attached to it, and I'll click on something, and it's some, amateur musician in their living room singing off-key while accompanying themselves badly.
Right.
And it's just, I turn it off after 30 seconds or so, but that's 30 seconds of my life I will never get back again.
Now, let me tail on to that. So let's say here's another bad thing about this is that there is an anonymity when you are online. And thus it kind of will, perpetrate is too strong a word, but that trolling.
Yes.
So if you are, say, this performer who has cheaply, you're trying to get yourself out there, let's say it's a musician, you put this YouTube out there, and there will be people that may just start slamming you in comments.
Yes.
And that can be hurtful.
Yes.
And so you put yourself out there, there's the pro and the con. You put yourself out there for the good. Unfortunately, the bad is out there as well. So, but there's an anonymity because it's not like it's somebody doing it to your face.
No.
So it's easier to say even crueler or meaner things.
Yes, we're far more mean and unkind than I think we would be just even if our names were attached to the things that we say. Which is why some newspapers now are saying, if you're going to leave a comment, we need your name. And we need you to verify your name. And your name will be attached to the things that you say. And it really has cut down on people just outright abusing each other, sending death threats to opinion columnists that they don't agree with.
Which is, it's inexcusable and not what the whole point is. And I think that also, and again, going off of that, there is a lack of, I sit here and I talk about my daughter watching some gamers play games. There is a lack of social, she and my other daughter are in the same room together on their phones, watching or doing different things on their phones. They're not interacting with each other.
No.
And that is also what's going on, what this does. Yeah. So I write an opinion and I put a comment on your YouTube. We're not really interacting.
No.
Because there's not a give and take, and you don't even necessarily know who I am. So I don't consider that social interaction. I consider that just a message or a comment or whatever, whether it's good or bad. So I think a lack of society is also a downside of some of this technology.
And I wonder, my mother tells the story of when her next door neighbor got the first television in the neighborhood, and all the kids went over and sat in front of what my grandmother called the idiot box.
Sure, yeah.
And they had the same thing. When I was a kid, we would go play outside with each other, but you children just stare mindlessly at this screen and you don't even talk to each other. Now, they were watching the same show, and maybe they talked about it later. I just have I just kind of wonder if that's just something that whenever something is new, like that, we just kind of, that's not the way we did it. So we kind of look at this and go, and who knows? I think that the ramifications of growing up surrounded by social media, we have yet to see what kind of effect that's going to have on this generation.
And I think, clearly part of the ramifications of the television generation are being felt now.
Yeah.
In that we are accepting of everybody having their own personal little screen.
Yeah.
It's not the family room. I remember being scandalized when friends got TVs in their own room. What?
Yeah.
The fact is now everybody has one in their hand.
Yeah.
And it gives them not exposure to just 3 networks. Absolutely, the world is in their hand.
Yeah.
And I think so. We're seeing that. That's from the whole television, which, hindsight being 20/20, maybe our great grandparents were right. Maybe it was a bad idea, but at the same time,
but it happened.
It happened, and I think that I don't know whether condemning it all. I just don't think you can do that.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to progress, there are going to be great things that come with it. There are going to be downsides as well. There's always a side effect.
But I also wonder, we started this whole episode saying we're old. We belong to the generation to whom social media happened to after we were already adults.
Correct.
And I sometimes think that, we're talking about this slice of the social media world, which are these videos that people create. But I think social media in general, what people post on Twitter, what people post on their Facebook page, it's occurred to me for a while that our generation might be the one that doesn't, that further generations will learn how to do it a little bit better.
Yes.
I have friends who post every time they're feeling sad or having a bad day, they talk about how sad they are. And I just think, I have sad days too, but don't do that ever. Just don't ever do that. And I wonder if your daughters and their generation will be a little smarter about how to craft a persona online.
Well, a conversation that I've had with my kids that, of course, my parents never had with me because it didn't exist. I've had to have these conversations that when you put something out there, it's A, out there forever, and B, everybody can see it.
Yep.
So understand that. And they're aware of that. So we've had these conversations that, again, never had to exist before between parents and kids. And so, yes, I think there is a part where, because they've grown up, it's always been for them. They don't remember a time when it didn't. I like to think that they will be smarter with it.
Yeah. And the other thing that I just kind of, my last word on this particular segment, is just I like the fact that shorter forms can be made. Like we went from movies, feature films, so then we started doing TV shows. And then TV shows, some of them were only a half an hour long, and that seemed short. Now you can create something that's like 4 minutes long and could be hysterical, and it just stands on its own as a 4-minute thing that you would never go to a movie theater to watch.
Well, if you go back in time even further to plays, which was a form of entertainment, plays were like 4, 5, 7 hours long.
Sometimes, yeah.
Because that was all there was. And you traveled from far and wide to go for this entertainment, so they felt like they had to give you a day's worth of entertainment. So you had it, and then you took, your day and a half long drive back to your farm or wherever. So then movies came, and then television. And so it's almost like this evolution of not only technology, but our attention spans. It's a devolving of our attention spans.
Although J.K. Rowling has just proven that people will sit there and watch 7 hours of theater in a day if they really want to.
That's true.
So we still have that.
Which is why there's hope.
And we also have these little 3-minute gems on YouTube that I love the fact that we can do that. When I was an English literature minor in college, we had a whole conversation about why the short story has never achieved the kind of respect that novels get. And no YouTube video vlogger is going to have the respect that Steven Spielberg gets when he puts Schindler's List out there. But maybe it's not about that so much. It's about this is a valid form. A 2-minute film can be its own thing.
I think entertainment,
if it's succinctly done.
I think we have to reimagine what is and redefine what is entertainment and what is valid and all of that. So anyway, that's where we are on that. Speaking of, though, we have favorites, and we're going to talk about those when we come back.
After the break.
Open wide. It's your prescribed dose of POPeration with Eric and Stacey.
And we're back.
We are back. This is POPeration.
We are talking about YouTube for the most part, but viral stuff on the internet.
Yep.
Vloggers, gamers, celebrities that would never ever have been celebrities before the internet existed. And so we've talked about some of the technology and how we feel about that and analyzed some of that. But in the end, it comes down to what you like there, buddy. What do you watch yourself? Now, you were saying how you find these videos.
Yep.
My daughters and their generation, teenagers, they
what are the
subscribe.
kids doing nowadays,
Those whippersnappers, they're having subscriptions on that YouTube channel. But I'll be honest with you, I do as well. There are people that I subscribe to.
I have two.
So that I will get, whenever they put out a new one, I will be reminded that it's there. And, which, by the way, we have a YouTube channel here.
And you can subscribe to that if you wanted to.
And share it on Facebook, like how you get your videos.
Yeah,
that's what you were saying.
If you really like one of these podcasts, find us on the YouTubes. And just pop it up on your Facebook wall. That would be lovely. That's how I see most of the videos that I end up seeing. I do have 2 YouTube subscriptions at the moment.
Okay.
One of them is a young musician named Louisa Wendorf. She rose to internet YouTube fame, as you will, doing a mashup of 2 Taylor Swift songs. Apparently, Taylor herself heard this.
This is how I knew of her.
Loved it. And then when she went on tour, during her pre-show, before she came out, they would actually show Louisa's mashup of Blank Space and Style. And it's lovely. I mean, I heard this, and I didn't even know they were Taylor Swift songs because I'm not hip like the little kids are. I just thought this is a lovely singer. These are, I didn't realize, here's the thing, they both kind of sound the same, these songs, so I didn't really realize it was a mashup.
What are you saying, Eric? Are you making a commentary on
the 2
Taylor
songs were similar.
Song?
They were similar. And when you put them, and they weren't really like a medley, it was like literally both songs are being sung at the same time with her partner who's playing the guitar, nice looking man, singing along with her, and their voices blend really beautifully. And I watched that, and I was like, wow. And I actually went to iTunes and bought her EP, her little mini album.
So you subscribe on your YouTube channel. You have a subscription
to her stuff.
And
she'll make videos, and she's gotten she's had a couple of guest stars that are popping, they're kind of, a little bit better known outside of just these circles. I believe she was a college student when she started. Don't know if she's still in college. But no,
that's exposure she could never have gotten.
Yeah, and she does some of her own stuff, but then a lot of covers and mashups and things. And I just, I find her to be delightful. So if I see something new of hers, I look at it. The other subscription of mine is, and I've been listening to this man for a long time. His name is Steve Hayes, and he goes by the moniker Tired Old Queen at the Movies. Pot kettle.
Can I just not comment? Can I just sit here and listen? Please don't make me comment.
But he's delightful. You would love him. You would love.
Well, I have an affinity
the tired old queen at the movies.
Queens who like movies.
So there we are. Why you're here? This is the journey that you've been on your whole life.
It really is.
Has led you to this particular tired old queen at the movies. But he spends 7 minutes talking about an old movie or other, and giving you all the kind of on-set trivia that you might not have known about it. Telling you why it's a good or not so good film, letting you know, oh, by the way, this is the film debut of so-and-so. Little scenes are kind of clipped in there every once in a while. But he's so enthusiastic about these old movies that he loves so much. And he's delightful, and he cracks himself up. There's usually outtakes at the end of every video about, things. Either he does a little impersonation of somebody. He can't review a Bette Davis movie without doing his Bette Davis, which is just hysterical.
Most people can.
And then there'll be an outtake of him trying to do a Bette Davis and then cracking himself up while he's doing it. He's just lovely, So I do subscribe to his channel, and especially when he is looking at a movie that I know and love.
Right.
So when he did Stage Door, I ate that up. When he finally got around to All About Eve, his 100th episode on YouTube. He finally got around to doing All About Eve.
Because at one point, the only way you'd have to be a host on AMC or Turner Classic Movies to be able to get your opinions known out that way.
But he does the movies he wants to do when he wants to do them. They're 7-minute little clips.
I think that's awesome.
It doesn't have to build a whole show around it, and really great. And the other video that's not I don't subscribe to this person, but when you said viral videos, this is a couple of years old, if not more, probably 4 or 5 years old at this point. And I just showed this video to you before we started recording because you'd never seen it before.
I had not seen this.
It's a video out there called The Nasty Ass Honey Badger. And basically, it's an old nature video of something that I'm guessing.
A honey badger.
I'm guessing he just erased the audio and replaced it with his own voice on top of it with his commentary. And every time the honey badger's back to eating a cobra, ew, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
And it just makes me howl.
It was amusing.
It makes me laugh so hard.
It was totally amusing.
So those are kind of my favorites.
Now, one that you and I share that is also a favorite of yours.
Yes.
And
I know who you're going to say.
Yes, I know you know. And I discovered this one. This is one of those, I discovered it like you discover them on Facebook. Somebody had shared this video.
Yep.
And it was hysterical. He does political satire.
With show tunes.
With show tunes, Randy Rainbow.
Love him.
He is hysterical. He is on point. And he seems to have really figured out the genre of what he's doing.
Yes.
Usually no more than about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He'll do a faux interview with somebody.
So he takes an interview that somebody has actually done,
right,
but inserts himself as the interviewer.
Correct.
So then when he asks a different kind of question and then gets the response, it's just so funny.
It's very funny. And then he'll make up songs, political satire songs. But he is very clever. He's very funny. He's adorable.
Yeah.
And very charming on screen, and he's really figured it out.
Yeah.
And so
Fun fact about Randy Rainbow. Do you know what his real name is?
No.
His real name is Randy Rainbow.
No.
That's his name.
Did he change his last name?
No.
He didn't change his last name?
He grew up with the name Rainbow.
Well, then he didn't ever have a shot.
This is what he was meant to do.
Anything else.
Yes, he was Randy Rainbow from the very beginning.
He was going to.
Isn't that funny?
That stuns me. I'm now flabbergasted. Gobsmacked, as they say. Now, for me, there was this show. It was a TV show that Brett Ehrlich, who is really, he is a YouTuber, and he's on Pop Trigger, which is one that I subscribe to, which it talks about all sorts of pop culture, including political stuff. And I really enjoy that show, but it's a bunch of funny people, funny, clever people, all younger than me, but that's about par these days. But the first thing I saw him do was he did Rotten Tomatoes used to have a TV show.
Oh.
And he and somebody else, they would host and each week would do a little bit of Rotten Tomatoes. That was not a viral video though. So, but the TV show he did was called Viral Video Film School. And it was basically the idea was, if you want to learn how to make a video that will go viral on the internet, here are some lessons. And each week it would be a different lesson, like make sure you have a kid in it who has some kind of talent. And then he'll show a bunch of the videos that and make commentary. Again, this is we go back to this. It's like the gamers. Somebody commenting on something that they didn't create, but that's already out there. Yep. That adds an amusement level. I'm not going to watch a bunch of kitten, dog, kid videos on my own. I'm not. They're boring. I don't care. But to have someone funny commenting on them, then I will watch them and enjoy it. And so that was very... Now, in the meantime, I asked my daughters for a list of who's popular of YouTubers right now, and they gave me a list of, I don't know, what is that, 25?
Yeah. Gay God?
Yes.
Gay God.
Yeah.
Who's that?
I don't know. I don't know these people, but these are all people that are very popular right now.
Superfruit. Now, I sense a theme. One
of the ones that they turned me on to was Hannah Hart, who's huge.
Okay, never heard of
As is a friend of hers, Mamrie Hart. They're not related, but they're hysterical. And hers just started, I believe, in that she decided to tape herself drinking and making something in the kitchen or something like that, I think. And so somebody has a drunk cooking show where they drink while they cook something. So you get a recipe and you watch them amusingly drink while they cook. It's hysterical, though. You sit there and
come to your house and watch you do that any night.
I know, it's every day, but I don't tape it. That's the difference between me and that person. But that's the thing is that, now, we were talking about stars, and I mentioned Justin Bieber, but somebody else who came out of this really, really well as the YouTube, Todrick Hall.
Recently of Kinky Boots on Broadway.
Kinky Boots on Broadway. Started out making his own videos, and I've seen some of them. They're very clever. He does very fun stuff.
Is he the one that did the Disney villainesses doing the Cell Block Tango? Yes. Very funny.
He's very clever. But again, he just got off Broadway. Yeah. I've not ever been on Broadway. No. I mean, there are tons of people in New York who've never been on Broadway, but he got exposure and got himself out there, and that's, again, what this technology can do. Sure. But you look at these, and I'll be honest...
And you might argue that he deserves that role in Kinky Boots more so than a lot of people who might have gotten it through a traditional way.
He must have been amazing.
He probably was very good.
I can't imagine that he wasn't, because I've seen some of the videos that he's done. He's very talented. And so I'm happy for him. Yeah. And I think that's just another way to follow your dream. And again, we talked about some of the cons of it, but there are also a lot of pros. Yeah. And I look at this list that my daughters gave me, and again, most of them I don't know, but again, she just rattled them off. And that's where we are in that, whereas it used to be movie stars and television stars that would, but they'll sit there and they'll watch a TV show or a movie, and they'll go, oh my gosh, that's Bloody Blah. And it's no one I know, but it's a YouTube star who got a bit part on a TV show. And I don't know them because I'm not watching YouTube as much as they are. But again, the world changes and progress is made, and this is where it's going. But it's, as I said, I think checking out, I'll put this list on the blog. Yes. Because to check these people out and see what's funny. We'll also put examples of the ones that we really, really like. Yeah. Because Randy Rainbow is amazing.
Yeah. Well, Randy Rainbow, just a little side note before we close out. He was asked by the New York Times to do an opinion column in the form of a video. One of his videos was only watchable on nytimes.com. Wow. So that's something that already kind of happened for him. The New York Times called him and said, we want you to... and there was something, I think it was to the tune of Beauty and the Beast, but I don't remember exactly, but it's something to do with the Trump administration. Most of this stuff is fairly political. Or maybe not. We'll see if we can find it. We won't be able to post it on our blog. We will only be able to supply a link to the New York Times, which, that was huge for him. But I wonder what his paycheck was.
But look at that, the influence that he is having. The influence that, Todrick Hall it. These are influencers of the future. Yeah. And I think with that, we can't just dismiss it as, it's internet YouTubers. because I don't think that's all it is.
No.
It is a reflection of our culture and society. Not to get too serious and pretentious about it, but I think it's amusing because I do think there's a lot of talent out there, and I think it's really cool to have this as another choice in your entertainment.
Yeah. So final diagnosis.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's fine. I think it's a good trend.
It's a good thing.
I do. You got to take the good with the bad. I mean, the bad with the good. And so there are some, as I said, side effects.
And I think my final diagnosis, we can sit here and talk about whether it's good or bad, and it doesn't matter a hill of beans. It's happening.
It is happening.
This is the world we now live in. And you know what? This is not the last new thing that's going to happen. There'll be something 30 years from now that we'll go, what? We never expected that.
But I also think we need, I think, take advantage of it. Check out some of these links that we have in our blog about this, because I think if you have not done it, if you're not looking at some of these YouTube people, it's worth a shot.
Yeah.
So, alrighty. Well, speaking of that, you should probably subscribe to this
on YouTube or iTunes.
Yeah, like us on Facebook,
Google
and Twitter.
Play.
Yeah, we're
Stitcher.
everywhere. We're everywhere. Tune in.
We're spreading like a charming, witty virus.
It's like we are viral.
Till the next time. You've been listening to POPeration with Eric and Stacey. Check out our website at poperationroom.com for links to our blog and other extras. Don't forget to subscribe to POPeration via iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, and other podcast locations. You can also follow at POPeration Room on Facebook and Twitter. Music provided by purpleplanet.com.